special session adjourns.
We recognize here in Colorado that we roll up our sleeves, we get that work done.
There was, I think, a really strong sense of bipartisanship and camaraderie.
Help for small businesses, food banks, and renters, all included in the bills heading to the governor for his signature.
Help keep Colorado afloat as we prepare to build back stronger when the pandemic ends.
Plus, start keeping an eye on your mail. Relief is on the way for those who qualify.
And will the Broncos be sold?
The Bolins hint they may be giving up their ownership of the team.
All right, Colorado, help is on the horizon. After 3 days, the special session has come to an end.
In all, 10 bills were passed to provide relief to the Coloradans who need it most. Good evening. Glad you're with us tonight at 5. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Ann Trujillo, and we want to get straight to Denver7's political reporter, MEGHAN Lopez, who's been at the Capitol every day since this special session started.
MEGHAN, wrapped up pretty quickly today.
It did. It wrapped up just around 1 o'clock today, Shannon, for the House anyway. The leadership of the legislature said that they wanted to keep this to just 3 days. They say they wanted to pass their 8 priority bills, and that's exactly what they did for the most part. Now, there was bipartisan support for all of those major bills, but that doesn't mean that every single piece of it was agreed upon by everyone.
After a few final hours of floor work,
because this bill is important,
a few more impassioned debates,
we should not live in fear,
and a few final votes.
With 46 aye votes, 17 no votes, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 1 is passed as amended.
The Colorado legislature wrapped up a whirlwind special session aimed at COVID-19 relief.
We did some good work here, and we did it in a bipartisan way.
This is a bridge to relief. This is a bridge until we come back in January.
Among the bills heading to the governor's desk, one that offers $37 million in direct relief to businesses and millions more to arts groups. But the money will only go to businesses in cities that comply with public health orders.
This bill is a partnership. It's a partnership with the state and local governments. And if the local government refuses to comply, then there's no partnership there.
Businesses that are eligible can start applying for aid pretty quickly, but it could take a bit for that money to get to them. Senate Bill 2, meanwhile, will offer $45 million in housing and rental assistance to people having trouble paying their bills, including landlords.
Landlords who can't evict and who aren't collecting rent, we need to do something to help them, because if they go bankrupt or have to foreclose on their rental property and can't pay their mortgage, those people won't have a place to live.
Senator Chris Holbert was the bill's co-sponsor, but there's a section he doesn't necessarily like that offers millions in help to undocumented immigrants who need housing assistance.
I have voted against funding for folks who are here in an undocumented condition, but that also goes to that reality of an extraordinary session, a special session. I don't get to pick and choose that.
The bills that were passed had bipartisan support, but that doesn't mean everyone agreed with every aspect.
1, I don't think it will hit the ground fast enough. 2, I don't think it will hit every business and help every business here. And 3, I think we just left people out.
Still, with the special session over, relief is coming, albeit temporarily.
Co-sponsors.
So the bill with the single biggest fiscal note will transfer about $100 million from the general fund to the Controlled Maintenance Trust Fund. It can then be moved to the Disaster Emergency Fund for the governor to use for things like buying supplies for COVID testing, or buying some of those PPE equipment, or setting up some of those alternative care sites as the numbers get worse. Right now, that emergency disaster fund is completely depleted, but as soon as the governor signs this bill, that money will be transferred so that he will be able to use it. FEMA will reimburse part of it, but a really busy few days here at the Colorado State Legislature, Ann.
Yeah, they got down to business quickly. All right, MEGHAN, thank you so much. Now, before the governor signs any of the bills, checks are now being sent out to more than 400,000 Coloradans who have filed for unemployment. This one-time $375 payment was signed off by Governor Polis back in October, and today those checks went in the mail. The governor says with no stimulus checks coming from Washington, Colorado is stepping up where Congress failed.
And the last time Coloradans, or really anybody in the U.S., received a stimulus payment was in April. And even the new $900 billion bipartisan relief bill that the Senate is hoping to pass doesn't include anything like those stimulus payments. It does include, though, more than $300 billion for small businesses. Negotiations are still happening right now. President-elect Joe Biden said today the bill is not the final answer, but it would be immediate help for a lot of Americans in need. Well, Well, despite the new CDC guidance, Colorado health officials say a full 14-day quarantine is the best way to control the spread of the virus if a person has been exposed. But CDPHE is adjusting some of the guidelines to better align with CDC to say quarantine time can be shortened if a person takes a test after 7 days and is negative. The state also says people can now stop quarantining without a test after 10 days if they show no symptoms.
The man accused of causing the crash that killed 2 people, including a Commerce City detective, is now facing homicide charges. Police say 45-year-old Fructuoso Rosales Cano was under the influence when he crashed his pickup back in October, killing 31-year-old Francesca Dominguez and 37-year-old officer Kurt Holland. Rosales Cano faces 2 charges of vehicular homicide. The Planned Parenthood shooter, Robert Deere, won't face the death penalty. Today, federal prosecutors announced they are ruling out the death penalty for the 62-year-old who killed 3 people back in 2015 in Colorado Springs. Deere still faces a maximum sentence of life behind bars.
Denver's very first city-sanctioned campsite for the homeless, now less than a week from opening. And today it was announced that the site at First Baptist Church on Grant Street near the Capitol would be the first to open on Monday. That space will be designated for 30 women. There'll be another site open later this month at Denver Community Church on Pearl Street. That one will be for men and women, and pets can be included.
The Denver Public Schools Board of Education will meet tonight to get the ball rolling on the search for a new superintendent. Last month, as you know, Susana Cordova announced she was leaving the district to pursue a position with the Dallas School District in Texas. The Board of Education could announce an interim leader at tonight's meeting as they work on a plan to find a permanent replacement.
In a vague statement today, Pat Boland's second oldest child, Beth, indicated that selling the Broncos might be the best path forward.
Beth also added that her father would never have accepted the team's current state. So here to break this all down for us, Sports Director Lionel Bienvenu. Lionel?
Yeah, guys, look, from Beth Boland's statement today, it appears the Broncos may be up for sale in the future. She said that her father, Pat Boland, would have never accepted the team's current state, and that is without a sole owner. That is with a board of trustees and Joe Ellis running the team. The telling sentence from Beth is this one: watching these past few seasons has been extremely painful, and we continue to see no other way to restore the franchise for our fans but through a transition of ownership of the Denver Broncos. Our Broncos insider Troy Renck had this first today, and he has the inside scoop from Dove Valley.
In her statement, Beth Boland Wallace made clear that her father, Pat, would be disappointed with the state of the franchise. But she also hinted the best possible solution going forward would be to sell the team. This is obviously a change in posture for Boland Wallace. 2 years ago, she mentioned she wanted to be the controlling owner, but the trust, they don't believe she's qualified, told her as much. They have since identified Brittany Boland as the potential successor, but that would take all the siblings and beneficiaries agreeing on one sole controlling owner. That could be an issue. There's been a lot of in-house squabbling over the last few years. The NFL's posture on this has changed as well. They can now fine teams up to $10 million that don't have a sole controlling owner. That applies to the Titans and Broncos.
All right, bottom line, if Beth Boland Wallace does not sign off on Brittany Boland running the team, then selling the team might be the only option, and splitting up $3.2 billion. $3.2 billion. That's what the Broncos are worth. Troy has so much more on this, every detail covered for you right now on thedenverchannel.com.